So once again, you're welcome. Yesterday, we went through the foundation, project management foundation, where we look basically at the basics of what project management is all about. And today, we'll look at project management environment, or project environment, the environment where a project is carried out. I will try as much as I can today to be faster. However, if you have questions or in the process of teaching, you need to ask questions or you need to get something clearer, please don't hesitate to ask your questions. Just raise your hands and then we'll need you to ask your question. But before I proceed, do I have any question from yesterday's class? Any question from yesterday's class? Any recommendation, any review from yesterday's class? Questions, recommendations? I would have said we should do a recap, but our time is already fast spent. So we're trying to see how we can match up with time. Any question, any recommendation? Okay. Please, Mr. Mahmoud, kindly unmute. Let's hear from you.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. I actually asked a question yesterday, but probably it was an oversight.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the differences you highlighted between operation and a project is the budget. But I asked a question that I think we can also budget for, we do budget for operations also. So can we actually say that budget is what differentiates a project from an operation?
Okay, thank you so much. Your question, if I may get you clearly, I trust your mic is still on. Your question, if I may get you clearly, is that we spoke about project budgeting yesterday. As is it like we spoke about it as a difference between project and operation or something? Or we spoke about it as a similarity between project and operations? Please, you can unmute and let me have fun.
Okay, so we actually talked about it as a difference that projects do have a budget. So I was now asking that what of operation? Operation also do have budgets.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. So let me go back to that particular slide.
Okay.
So that we can get more clarity. So this is the slide. This is the slide. We said the similarities in all of project management and operations management is that both are planned, executed, monitored, and controlled. And if I could remember yesterday, I said both involve resources.
Yes.
Okay. Now, in the differences we created, we said the project is temporary, operations are ongoing, projects are new original work, operations are repeated work, projects are unique output, operations are repetitive output, projects are terminated once objectives are met, but operations adopt new objectives once the old objectives are met. So I can't remember talking about budget as a difference, because both operations and project, they all require budgeting.
Okay.
So it's rather a similarity. Like I said, both are resourced.
Okay.
Okay. So it's rather a similarity rather than a difference.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you so much. Okay, do we have any other question or perhaps an area you would like us to clarify on before we proceed? Okay, should I proceed? Should I assume that we don't need to clarify anything? Everything that was said yesterday was well heard and well understood. Okay, so today we'll start with project environment. But before we proceed, can somebody please help us with the definition of what a project is? Can somebody please help us with what project is? A project? Please, if you, Mr. Mahmoud, is your hand up? Okay. Please, can someone help us? What is a project? Just remind us. Okay. Eki, please kindly unmute. Let's hear from you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes, a project is a temporary endeavor taken to create a unique product, service, or result.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Okay. Mahmoud, your hand is up. Will you want to add to it?
Yeah, yes, sir. Is a project is a temporary endeavor that is carried out with a specified time scale and which is also budgeted to create a result.
Okay, thank you so much. That is the more compounding definition. Okay, so a project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to produce product, service, or result. Now, going by the definition that Mahmoud just brought, we always coin that definition out from the triple constraint. From the triple constraint. So we could also define a project as a temporary endeavor undertaken to produce a unique set of deliverables under clearly specified scope, time, and cost or budget. We can also define a project as a temporary endeavor undertaken to produce a unique set of deliverables, which we consider as quality, under clearly specified scope, time, and budget or cost. So whether you define it as a temporary endeavor to create product, service, or deliverable, you're right. Or whether you define it more elaborately, whichever one you choose, you're right. Now, can somebody help us with what an environment is? When we talk about environment, what comes to mind? When we talk about environment, what comes to mind? When we talk about environment, what comes to mind? Environment. Please, can someone help us? Environment. Hope I'm pronouncing it right. Environment. All right, Eki, please go ahead.
I just typed in the chat room, the space in which a project is carried out.
Okay, a space in which a project is carried out.
Well, environment is an area or a space.
Okay, so project
Yeah.
environment is not the environment where a project is carried out.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Mahmoud. Hope it's not only two people I'm having in my class today. I'm seeing Imani. I'm seeing Temilade. I'm seeing myself. Okay. So, Mr. Mahmoud, kindly unmute yourself for me.
Okay. Generally, environment is just a surrounding or a condition in which an animal or plant or anything lives in. So that's a general environment.
So
coming down to projects now.
Go ahead, please.
Coming down to project now, it just defines the condition in which a project is being carried out.
Okay, it defines the condition of surrounding where a project is being carried out. All right, thank you. So let's quickly review what we have here. Imani said these are surroundings. Eki said the space in which a project is carried out. Okay, these are from the chat room. Okay, now quickly, let's look at the session objectives. We have very simple objectives, but it may take us time to conclude them. By the end of this section, a participant will be able to define basic terms associated with project environment, list the enterprise environmental factors involved in any given project, then elaborate on organizational process assets, then create stakeholders list, and then discuss influences on project. So these are the things we'll be looking at. Now, by introduction, projects exist and operate in environments that may have an influence on them. Now, every project is being carried out in environment, and the environment may have positive or negative influence on the project. The environment obviously will have an influence on the project, but the influence will have to be either negative or positive. All right. So it therefore means that understanding our environment is critical and key to managing projects. Understanding our environment is key to managing projects. Now, these influences can have favorable or unfavorable impact on the project. Two major categories of influences. Please, I would like us to know this. Everything we are going to be talking about on influences on project or a major component of the project environment, we have two major categories of influences that influence the project environment to bring about positive or negative impact or favorable or unfavorable impact. We have the first one we call the enterprise environmental factors, EEFs, enterprise environmental factors. And then we have organizational process assets. Please, everything we are dealing with here, I will always want us to keep in mind that we want to learn so that we can practice whatever thing we are learning. So we are viewing whatever thing we are learning here first from the practical perspective, before we start looking at just the theoretical only. So every word I'm speaking to you, I want you to see what it's all about so that you can understand it more. And perhaps with that, you can be able to ask questions. I will take the time to explain these two categories of influences on projects, because if we don't understand these two very well, every other thing you do around project initiation, project planning, and project monitoring, evaluation, execution, and closing, every other thing you do without effectively understanding these two categories of influences, you might be doing them in error. So as we go into them into two, I would like us to pay rapt attention and then be able to understand them. And like I said, every word I'm saying, I would like you to see the picture of what I'm saying so that you could have a practical understanding of what I'm trying to explain. Now, EFs originate from the environment outside of the project and often outside of the enterprise. I would like us to keep this in mind. The enterprise environmental factors originate from the environment outside of the project, and in most cases also outside of the enterprise. That means EFs are influences beyond the control of the project team, and in most cases beyond the control of the performing organization, and perhaps beyond the control of the contracting organization also. Now, EFs may have an impact at the organizational, portfolio, program, or project level. EFs may have impact on the organization. That's the general organizational component of which the portfolio is inside, the program is inside, and the project is inside. At some other time, it may be at just portfolio level. At some other time, it may be at program level. At some other time, it may be at project level. Sometimes we hear things that like the issue of the company is a systems issue. So it starts from the head and goes down to the tail. Some will say it's a structural issue. Some will say it's a governance issue. Some will say it's lack of corporate understanding, lack of understanding of the customers, lack of understanding of the product. So at some point, we have different factors in the environment that play critical roles in either contributing to the success or failure of a project. Now, for organizational process assets are internal to the organization. Please, I want us to note this. EEFs are external to the project and in most cases are external to the organization. But EEFs are internal to the organization. This may arise from the organization itself, a portfolio, a program, another project, or a combination of these. Your OPAs may come about from the organization itself at organizational levels, portfolio levels, program levels, project levels, or a combination of these. In addition to EFs and OPAs, organizational systems also play a significant role in the life cycle of the project. Organizational systems. So apart from looking at OPAs and EFs, we will also have to look at organizational systems. So under the systems, we have the management system, we have the culture, we have the structure. Then we'll talk about leadership and all of that. Okay. Then we'll also have system factors that impact the power, influence, interest, competencies, and political capabilities of the people to act within the organizational systems. I'll discuss further in the section of organizational systems. So as we move further, we will have to discuss more on organizational system apart from OPAs and EFs. Now, if you look at the diagram, we have influences. Okay, we have influences, and then on the influences, we have EFs and OPAs majorly. Now, the EFs will have the external EFs and have the internal EFs. Remember, we said EFs are majorly external, right? But in some cases, we could also have internal EFs, and we'll look at them. Then when we talk about the OPAs, they are majorly internal. And under the OPAs, we have the processes, policies and procedures, and all right. Sorry, my network tend to have fluctuated and came back. So please kindly confirm that you can still hear me. Please kindly confirm that you can still hear me by typing 11 in the chat room. Kindly confirm that you can still hear me loud and clear by typing 11 in the chat room. All right, thank you. So before the network tripped off, I was trying to explain that on the influences, like I said, we have basically the EFs, enterprise environmental factors, which are majorly external, but we still have some elements that are internal. But for the OPAs, they are majorly organizational processes, policies, and procedures, and they will have the corporate-based knowledge. Also, with what we've just added, then that means these influences can be extended to have organizational systems as well. And under the systems, we have structures, cultures. Sorry, please. I just observed that my network is fluctuating. Let me be sure of what the problem is. Please kindly give me a second and I will be back. Thank you.